Nobody ever really noticed Lena Parker. She was the kind of girl who slipped through the hallways like a shadow, quiet, polite, always with her head bent low and her books pressed tightly to her chest. But the very thing that made her invisible to most made her a target for a few. The bullies at Ridgewood High had grown tired of mocking her silence in class, her second-hand clothes, and her refusal to fight back. One afternoon, they decided to take their cruelty to a whole new level. "Hey, Parker," sneered Chase, the ringleader of the group. "We're playing a game. You're going to be our contestant." His friends snickered behind him, phones already out to record whatever humiliation they were about to orchestrate. "Think of it like Squid Game. Only this time, you lose, we laugh." "Got it." Lena froze. Her heart pounded in her chest. She had heard of the Netflix phenomenon but never imagined she'd be forced into a twisted, real-life version in the school gym. The rules were simple but cruel. They drew chalk lines on the gym floor, just like in the show. Each round had a challenge, a race, a balance test, even a mock tug-of-war. If she failed, she would face the jeers, the taunts, and videos blasted across social media. The first challenge was a sprint across the basketball court while the bullies shouted, "Red light, green light." Chase's girlfriend smirked as she called out commands. Each time Lena stumbled, laughter exploded. Her palms grew sweaty, her legs trembled, but she made it across. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just pressed her lips together and endured. Round after round, they pushed her harder. She had to balance on one leg while they threw basketballs near her feet, hopscotch across a narrow beam, and solve a puzzle with the clock ticking down. Each time, she succeeded, barely. What the bullies didn't see was the quiet fire building behind her eyes. By the time they reached the final round, the chalk-drawn Squid Game itself, Lena stood at one end of the court, facing Chase at the other. The crowd of bullies circled like vultures, chanting for their leader. Chase cracked his knuckles. "This is where you lose, Parker." But Lena didn't back away. She looked him dead in the eyes for the first time. Something in her silence unsettled him. The game began. Chase lunged forward with brute force, expecting her to crumble. Instead, she sidestepped with surprising agility. She had been quiet all her life, but that didn't mean she was weak. What no one knew was that Lena had spent years helping her father on construction sites, carrying heavy loads, balancing on beams, climbing ladders. Strength built in silence. Balance forged without witnesses. All those quiet days had prepared her for this moment. The game dragged on, tension mounting. Chase grew frustrated, reckless. The crowd that once mocked her now watched in disbelief as Lena countered every move. And then, in one final motion, she flipped the tide. Using his own weight against High, Lena Parker had always been invisible. Not the kind of invisible that came from magic, but the kind that comes from being too quiet in a world that rewards noise. Teachers barely noticed her hand raised in class. Students passed her in the hallways as if she didn't exist. She wore the same pair of faded sneakers every day, carried the same old backpack, and never argued back when someone mocked her. But invisibility has a cost. It makes you an easy target. Chase Miller, the star basketball player, loved easy targets. With his perfect hair, cocky grin, and group of friends trailing behind him, Chase fed on attention. And Lena, quiet, timid Lena, was his favorite prey. He knew she wouldn't fight back. She never did. It started with little things, a shove in the hallway, a stolen pencil, a cruel nickname whispered just loud enough for her to hear. But one gray afternoon in the gym, Chase decided mocking her wasn't enough. He wanted a show. He wanted entertainment. "Parker," he barked, tossing a piece of chalk at her feet. "You're going to play a game with us. Ever seen Squid Game?" His friends laughed, already pulling out their phones. Lena's stomach twisted. She had seen clips of the show online. The desperation. The cruelty. And now, here she was, standing in a circle of sneering faces, about to be their contestant. The first game was red light, green light. They lined her up at one end of the gym. The rules were simple: run on green, stop on red. If she stumbled or moved, they would pelt her with basketballs. The gym echoed with their laughter as she hesitated at the starting line. Go, someone yelled. Her legs moved, shaky but determined. Each step was a gamble, each pause a test of her balance. When she finally crossed the finish line, the bullies groaned in disappointment. But Lena didn't smile. She didn't give them the satisfaction of tears either. She just stood tall, breathing hard, eyes steady. The second challenge was worse. They made her walk a narrow balance beam while they hurled insults and wadded paper balls. Her hands trembled as she stretched out her arms, step by careful step. She could hear Chase muttering, "She's gonna fall. Watch this." But she didn't fall. She pushed forward, remembering all the times she had walked planks at her father's construction site, carrying buckets of nails and heavy boards. Balance was something she had learned in silence, long before this cruel game. By the third challenge, the crowd of bullies had grown restless. Phones recorded every second, but whispers started to replace laughter. They hadn't expected her to last this long. They wanted to see her fail, but something about the way she endured each round unsettled them. Finally, they set up the chalk-drawn Squid Game court. The final round. Lena versus Chase. The gym filled with chants of his name. Everyone thought they knew how this would end. But Lena was no longer the trembling girl at the starting line. She was calm, collected,